Now we're ready. Oh my god, that's another video. I'm just so excited for this. Welcome back to yet another video where we talk about how to speak fast and understand fast speeches and native speakers. Okay, if you know me, if you follow me for a while now, you know that I made a video where I talked about anti-rule. And for those of you who don't know what anti is basically this two-letter and anti. When they come together in the middle of the word, we tend to pronounce them in a different way. For instance, we're not saying like listen to me, we say listen to me.
But you listen to me.
Or talking to you, talking to you.
I'm not talking to you, you broke my friend.
Or happen to me, happen to me.
That same thing happened to me one time.
Or printer, printer.
For all your paper and printer needs.
Mean to me, mean to me.
Hey French people, please don't be mean to me.
Things like that. Basically, this is what anti is called, and this is why sometimes native speakers tend to speak really fast. Today, we're gonna talk about 3 different rules, but before we get started, I just wanna ask you this question. Do you know what contraction is?
Whoa.
Pam? Pam, okay. All right. Okay, it's time to go to the hospital. Somebody get Jim.
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the doctor said that it's still considered a minor contraction as long as I can talk through it.
No, I'm not talking about this contraction, obviously.
I'll go.
I'll go. I'm talking about this contraction. When I say, instead of saying like, I will go, when I say I'll go, this is what's called contraction, okay? This is what's called contraction. So basically, first of all, we're gonna start off this video talking about contractions. For instance, normally you say should have, right? Should have. But they don't say it like should have, they say it should have. Because in our daily talk, when it comes to speaking, they don't say it like should have, must have, should have, could have, might have. So basically, first of all, this is our first rule. We're gonna take a look at those scenes from France.
Should have seen her writing.
You should have seen her writing. You should have seen her writing. I mean, he speaks fast here. He doesn't say like you should have seen her. You should have seen her writing.
And who's to say I would have even said yes?
I mean, I would have said yes.
Would have.
That would have been better.
That would have been better. Not that would have been better. That would have been better.
Really should have been more clear about that.
You really should have been more clear about that, Not you should have been more clear about that. You really should have been more clear about that,
Right? Still, somebody must have seen it.
Must have. Still, somebody must have seen it.
I would have said yes to anybody.
I would have said yes to anybody. See? She speaks fast, because she doesn't say it like I would have said yes to anybody. You can expect to hear this. When it comes to speaking. You can expect to hear in a way that's written, okay? In a written version of this sentence, you can see that, I would have said yes to anybody. But when it comes to speaking, when it comes to daily talk, you say, I would have said yes to anybody.
You should have done. Should have told yourself that little story.
At this point, I just want to say 2 things here. In Joey's speech here, there are 2 different rules. One of them is, Joey says, instead of saying like you should have, he says, you should have, right? You should have told yourself. But the other thing is, in English, when D and Y, when they come together, D and Y, we don't say it like told you.
I told you on the phone. I told you I don't. I told you I didn't have the time. I told you. See, this is why I told you.
We don't say it like did you.
Did you touch any of the guitars while you were there? Did you?
Oh, did you beat him at a board game?
What did you do to his sweater vest?
Why? Why did you do this?
But did you see the ass on her?
How did you get a girl like that?
Where did you get it? Ross, where did you get that? Baby, where did you get that?
What did you do?
How did you know that?
How did you know?
How did you know they were in my bottom drawer?
How did you know we were here?
Oh, did you get to see anything good?
We don't say it like would you.
How would you feel if you found out you were 31?
What?
How would you feel about taking out my assistant tag?
What would you do if you were in Ross's situation?
Okay, what would you do if I did this?
Why would you do that?
Why? Why would you do that? Would you go check on that?
Would you hug me?
Would you let it go already?
So would you let me talk?
For instance, Joey says, you should have told yourself that little story.
Should have told yourself that little story.
He doesn't say it like, you should have told yourself that little story. He says, you should have told yourself that little story. That's slightly one of the reasons why we struggle with understanding them. And another contraction is, instead of saying like, I would love that, we say, I'd love that.
I'd love that. I would love that.
I'd love that. I would love that. I would love that. I'd love that. So basically, you better get used to say, I'd love that. I'd love that, okay? Sometimes it's just really so hard to hear these sounds. For instance,
I figured I'd just buy those.
did she even hear these sounds? When he said,
I figured I'd just buy those.
I figured I'd just buy those. It's just so hard to hear these sounds, okay? So basically, you know, you can expect to hear these sounds so clearly.
Thought I'd take that bad boy out for a little spin.
Did you hear that? Did she even hear that? You know, it's so hard to hear that. I thought I'd take that bad boy out for a little spin, okay? Instead of saying, I thought I would take that bad boy out for a little spin, I thought I'd take that bad boy out for a little spin.
She'd think you were sick.
Did you hear that? This was clear, guys. Like, she'd think you were sick. Instead of saying like, she will think you were sick, she'd think you were sick. He specifically emphasizes these sounds. She'd think you were sick. Okay, I'm choking on my spit.
We don't sell cigarettes, but they have them at the newsstand across the street.
That'd be great, thanks.
I like this example. I like this example so much because we use it all the time in our lives. Instead of saying like, that will be great, that'd be great, yeah thanks, that'd be great. You don't say it like, that will be great, you say, that'd be great, yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, great, that'd be great.
You're gonna use this expression, that will be great, many times in your life. You know, someone's asking like, would you wanna go grab a cup of coffee? And you say, you know, sure, that'd be great. Instead of saying like, that will be great, that'd be great.
We repeat everything the other said.
I like this example so much. I really like this example. Look at that, guys. Look at that. We'd repeat everything the other said.
We repeat everything the other said.
We'd repeat everything the other said. She doesn't say, we will repeat everything the other said. She says, we'd repeat everything the other said. Or
we jump out of closets to scare each other.
We jump out of the closet to scare each other. It doesn't say, we will jump out of the closet to scare each other. She says, we jump out of the closet to scare each other. So guys, we talked about this contraction, D, right? With, not we would, with. I would appreciate, I'd appreciate. That would be great, that'd be great. I would love that, I'd love that. Okay, now for the last part of this video, guys. I find this part so important, so crucial, so vital to your learning English process, to your listening, to your speaking and everything. Guys, bear with me, just focus on this part because I find this part so important, okay?
How'd your date go with Jake?
How'd your date go with Jake? Formal version of this sentence. How did your date go with Jake, right? This is the formal version of this sentence, right? But the second alternative is, how did your date go with Jake? How did your date go with Jake, right? The and why. How did your date go? Not how did your date go? How did your date go with Jake? The other alternative is, the other option is, how'd your date go with Jake? How'd your date go with Jake? How'd your date go with Jake? This is the fastest version and this is why you might struggle with understanding.
Oh, how'd your date go with Jake?
You might struggle with catching our lines here.
Man, what'd you have to go and say that for?
And what you have to go and say that for? Did you hear that? Normally, the formal version of this sentence is, what did you have to go and say that for? The second alternative is, what did you? The and why. And the last alternative is, what, contraction D, and DIY. We connect them to each other, and this is what happens.
And what'd you have to go and say that for?
Not what did you, not what did you, but what you. What you have to go and say that for.
What'd you bring me?
What you bring me, normally, the formal version of this, what did you bring me? Or, you can say, what did you bring me? Or you can say, what, and contraction D, and DIY, we connect them to each other, and this is what happens.
Oh, what'd you bring me? What'd you decide to do about the movie?
What did you decide about the movie? Not, what did you decide about the movie? What did you decide about the movie? In your daily life, when you talk, you know, instead of saying like, what did you decide about the movie? Try to say it like, what did you decide about the movie? And you get used to say it like, what did you decide about the movie? What did you decide about the movie? Like Monica. At some point, Monica's speech, the way she speaks, is gonna sound so normal to you and you're not gonna struggle with understanding what he says, okay?
What'd you do today?
What you do today? What you do today? Do you say that? What you do today? When I first started learning English with friends when I was a beginner, I remember this expression. How'd it go?
So how'd it go?
How'd it go?
Hey, babes, how'd it go with Scott last night?
For instance, look at that.
How'd the audition go?
How did audition go? And when I used to hear this sentence, I would be like, dude, how does she pronounce this? I don't get it. Because I was trying to say it like, how did the audition go? But how did the audition go? She says, how did the audition go? Not how did the audition go? How did the audition go?
How did it go with Aaron?
Not how did it go with Aaron? How did it go with Aaron? Do you say that?
How did it go with Aaron?
How did it go with Aaron?
Wait,
How did it go with Kate? How did it go with Kate? Not how did it go? How did it go with Kate?
How'd it go with Kate?
Hey, how'd it go? So how'd it go?
So how'd it go?
Hey, how'd it go?
Hey, babes, how'd it go with Scott last night?
How'd it go?
How'd it go with Frank and Alice?
Hey,
Hey, how'd it go with Elizabeth?
Hey, how'd it go?
hey.
Hey, how'd it go?
How did it go? Like,
So
how
how'd
did
it
it go? Okay, basically, you better get used to say, instead of saying like, how did it go? How did it go? Because of the contraction, guys, because of the contraction, it's always easier to say like, instead of saying like, how did it go with Scott last night? How did it go with Scott last night? So basically, guys, these are some of the rules that make native speakers speak really fast, and it makes it harder for us to understand their speech, you know, their lines. When you get used to pronounce those words, instead of saying like, I would rather be alone, you can say, I'd rather be alone. And when you incorporate those things into your speech, if you start to speak that way, you can easily catch their lines when you watch TV shows or whatever you watch, okay? So yeah, that's all I wanted to say in this video, guys, and we're gonna keep doing that because there's so many rules. There's other rules that I want to mention. We're gonna keep doing that. This is like a series. There is one more part coming very soon. Stay tuned for that, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. We tend to pronounce them in a different way, and this is why sometimes native speakers tend to speak really fast. We're gonna analyze their fast speeches. We're just gonna break it down. Do you know what contraction is?
Whoa.
Pam?
Oh.
Pam, okay. All right. Okay, it's time. Time to go to the hospital. Somebody get Jim.
I'm fine. Yeah, the doctor said that it's still considered a minor contraction as long as I can talk through it.
I find this part so important, so crucial, so vital to your learning English process. Guys, bear with me, just focus on this part. How do they pronounce it? How do they spell it? How did it go with Aaron? Instead of saying like, I would rather be alone, you can say, I'd rather be alone. And when you incorporate those things into your speech, if you start to speak that way, there is one more part coming very soon. Stay tuned for that.